there are recessionary periods where you need to do those layoffs, right? They are imperative. Like people say, build in public, try to build in public, right? Can you go that IPO route even before going to the investor? See, I being a tech guy can be interested in.
So, the trend right now is that many people online tell that degrees are not worth it. They say that, certainly they say that wasting your time in college, spending money on your college is actually not worth it. Instead, just maybe do a Python course, do a Java course, and get a job in Google, because Google doesn't look at degrees, right? It's a narrative out there right now. So, what's your point of view on this? That because you have worked at many places, you have worked for years now, tech guy, marketing guy, everything. What do you think? Is our college degrees actually worth it right now, or you should more look at skills?
Nice question again, and whoever is saying that the degrees is not necessary is bullshit, right? Cut that crap out. And the honest reason for that is, see, at some point of time in your career, you might face failure, right? And your degrees, whatever that degree is, will be something that you will clutching onto for the next opportunity, right? So never forget, degrees do help you, right? It is something that everyone, and I would advise everyone of your generation to not believe that advice that degrees are worthless. Every degree has its worth, right? It is going to help you, right? Some point of time, if you have a failure, God forbid it does not happen, but if it happens, this is something that you will clutch onto, right? So keep that in mind, right? Use your degrees, keep at least have one professional degree, have the bachelor's degree. If you can get a master's, nothing better, but at least have that bachelor's degree in anything, right? It can be anything, but have that bachelor's degree, because that next opportunity that you might be looking to will or might have that clause that okay, you need to get a bachelor's degree. So do not believe in anyone who says that degrees are not important.
Then how do you explain this, that right now a sort of recession is going on, there are layoffs from companies, and the people who are fired actually have many degrees. There are IITians who are getting fired. Then how do you explain this narrative?
So they are not getting fired for the skills that they have or the skills they don't have, right? They are getting fired because of business reasons. And say probably once you start business, you will understand that okay, there are recessionary periods where you need to do those layoffs, right? They are imperative, right? They are not getting fired because they are bad at their job, right? So that has to be understood. So your degree versus skill, it's a debate that can go on for a long time. Skills are important, I am not saying skills are not important, right? But degree always holds a value, and that person losing the job is not because they lack a degree or they lack a skill. That is a recessionary period effect, right, which does not relate to their own core work.
Okay, so maybe what the numbers we are seeing right now, that okay, XYZ company is laying off 500 of employees, it's because of business reasons, and it's temporary, but degrees matter, because in long run it won't actually, the layoff doesn't happen that much regular, right?
No, so see, even as professionals, you have to be ready for a new wave, right? That and something that we see at this point of time, that people may not have permanent jobs, right? We probably will go into something like a gig economy, right? You get into a organization for a certain project, you come out of it, wait for a certain period, get into another brand, work on a certain project, come out of it, right? That could be the future of jobs, right? So jobs per se, the definition of job might change, right? So that permanent job that someone, and see, look at it from our parents or grandparents used to work in an organization there where they used to spend 30-40 years of their career, right? They never thought. In my generation, we probably change every 5 years, 7 years odd, right? The next generation, we call it, they don't have loyalty, but it's not about loyalty. It's like about what is relevant for them at that point of time, right? See, I being a tech guy can be interested in creating content, and I will go ahead create content for certain. I might be interested in doing something around retail. I will try my hands. That the good thing is the world at this point of time gives you flexibility to try so many different things, right? That fear of failure, right, is very less at this point of time, unlike what we had 10 years back or 5 years back. So people are okay to fail at this point of time and explore new avenues forward.
Yeah, so actually that was going to be the next topic we were going to talk about. That you also worked in Tech Mahindra for about, I guess, 10 years.
Almost 15 years.
15 years, right? And after 15 years, we are shifting to a new company. And right now, my generation, the people who are 3-4 years senior to me, go to a job, 2 years, done, switch. So what's actually better? Like, should you do that, or I feel that staying loyal to a company would actually help you in a long run? That's my personal thinking. That okay, if I'm working for a company with, let's say, 15 years, in 15 years I have seen the business.
There are two parts to it, right? Is the loyalty, and okay, I'll rephrase that. That loyalty is benefiting whom?
Actually, then.
Right? So that is what. If that loyalty is not benefiting you, right? So for me, like I said, thankfully the organization gave me opportunities to move from a tech role to a market, to a sales support, to a marketing head kind of role, right? I had that trajectory, or a positive trajectory to my career, right? That was something very powerful, right? And that is one reason that made me stay with that brand for a long time. But am I going to spend my lifetime at a certain place? I don't know, right? Because if there are opportunities, and again, it's like that positive opportunity, that trajectory has to be something that should help you in your career, right? So is switching the job in 2 years is helping your trajectory, right? Is it helping you improve the pace of that trajectory, right? Is it helping you in your personal goals, right? Because at this point of time, I feel that you guys are more aware of your personal goals than we were aware, right? So you can take that risk. You can switch at 2 years, right? You can switch at 1 year and see, okay, what next for me? You, and I say, I feel that this generation, like, one is like that fear of failure is limited, and I always say this, like, experiment with your career. You don't know what is good for you. You are too early to make a decision and say, okay, this is good for me and I'm going to stick here, right? Make mistakes, learn from it, move forward, right? And explore things that probably someone has never thought of, right? So change jobs, which gives you opportunities to find some kind of something new, right? And figure that out, right?
Actually, so I remember the call we had. I think I joined VIT, and in 3-4 months I called you, right?
Yeah.
That I am confused. People here are doing much more than I am, and I'm just 12th pass out.
Yeah.
And you told me the same thing, that actually don't worry, experiment in your first 2 years, right? If you want to learn finance, just go take a course. Just if you want to learn sales, just go take a course. For 2 years, you are free to experiment whatever you want, because there is no fear of failing.
See, it's not about, see, you can, and I always say this, you can afford to fail.
That's
Right, you can afford to fail right now, and that goes even beyond your college life. See, in the first 5 years of your career, right, you can afford to fail, right? Because you'll always find something new, something interesting to work upon. And see, luckily for us, we are in a world today which is like geographically apart, geographically apart, but digitally very close. Right? You can work from anywhere for anyone. Right? So the opportunities, that number of opportunities That limitation is only in your mind. The world is going to offer you opportunities if you are keen, right? You have to tell the world that yes, I am keen for this opportunity.
Okay. So now, working at Tech Mahindra for 15 years, moving to FL, you also have been what we say in Bangalore, the niche guide, right? The startup mentor for many startups. So, do you regularly mentor the startups professionally?
So I do it out of passion, right? Because again, what I would like to do is again say based on my experience working with a large enterprise, right? I have seen processes getting implemented, right? And I want to see some of those learnings being adopted by startups, right? Today, the young guys are probably people who are just starting out, right? The 0 to 1 kind of startups, or even someone who has gone beyond that, right? I always feel that there's lack of processes which is inhibiting their growth, right? Which is that limiting. It's a big factor of their growth trajectory, and if I can probably come and help them drive some of those processes, right from business processes to marketing to their own personal branding, etc., right? How can I say help them figure out those processes? That is what I look at when I talk to some of those founders, right? And when I start getting involved. So from a passion point of view, so I have kind of mentored about eight odd startups so far, right? Across geographies again. So I was lucky enough to mentor startups who were from Russia, right? Say the Russia-based startups were looking to expand their geographical presence in India, and they were not limited by certain industry, right? The good part of being in tech is you have exposure to multiple industry. So that is where I started say talking to them, knowing more about their industry, knowing more about their culture, and how some of those things can be adopted in India and how they can expand into India. So that was one part. And then there are certain Indian startups and couple of in the US where I mentored them on marketing, branding, etc.
Okay. So, right now, if I am starting up, right, should I first develop my product and after my prototype is ready, I start my marketing, or marketing begins at the ground level itself?
Nice. Your personal branding has to start before, right? That is your personal branding, right? Why you believe in your idea, right? Why that idea can be a game changer, right? How that game changer, is it a game changer, and can you scale that idea? Because the end of the day, right, if you want to make your startup bigger, right, scale is something that you should always look into, right? And I fear, right, and something which I have seen in my experience, many startup founders don't have a question, don't have an answer to, is how they can scale their startup, right? And so it has to start from there. Your branding, your personal branding has to start from there. Like, why did you come across this idea, right? What was that white space that you saw that made you come up with this idea? And then, like people say, build in public, try to build in public, right? Let the world also come back and say, okay, this is something that Shrey could have done, right? This is something that XYZ founder could have done, right? It has its own disadvantages also, because someone may pick up your idea and copy it. But I always feel that, see, people can copy your idea, but they cannot copy your hustle. They cannot copy your efforts that goes into making that idea as an executable product.
Another question on the same tangent, right? If I'm starting a startup, I feel, and this was something which was said by another founder which he had on podcast. He said that when you are starting a startup, you need to move from self empathy to empathy, because when you are a first time founder, you feel that what you have thought is $1 billion idea, but maybe it's just another application in market, right? So first you need to analyze yourself that okay, I feel it's my idea, it's $1 billion idea, but does the market want it? how do you do that market research and actually figure out a purposeful idea that actually serves what is needed in the market?
So one is, see, it goes into the direction of, if you want to fail fast, right? So see, every idea, see, ideas are dime a dozen, right? Ideas today are dime a dozen, but who goes forward, right? Is someone who can make a product out of that idea and scale that product, right? So do you have a clear path onto that, right? If you don't have a clear path, you are setting yourself up for failure, right? Immediately. And be, again, so be very self-critical, right? As a startup founder, you have to be extremely self-critical, right? If you have even 5% of a doubt of your own idea, back out, right? Because when you are not invested in your idea, you cannot expect others to be invested in your idea. So if you think your idea is good, if you can plan to scale it up, because that planning is extremely important. And I know I have been talking more about scale, because until you don't scale, your startup will always remain a startup, right? So figure that out, figure that plan until that plan is ready. And if you have a 5% doubt, just back out, go to the next idea.
So here, I feel there's a contradiction which I have in my mind. You are talking about scaling a startup, but don't you feel that also profitability comes as a part of it, right? Okay, what we are seeing right now in the Indian startup scene is that people are there to scale a startup doing losses, right? Zomato is scaling, but at what cost? But don't you feel that okay, scale slowly, but there's the effect of compounding. You just grow 40% Y on Y, but you are profitable.
So that is, so we have not touched upon that point. So I did not come on profitability so far, right? So, and again, the advice to startup is getting an investment should be the last choice, not the first choice. Right.
That is what there's a misconception.
Right. Because most of the startup founders that I talk to, right, they're like, मुझे फंडिंग कहाँ से मिलेगी? बस फंडिंग की बात नहीं है, पहले अपना आइडिया तो डेवलप करो, राइट? कैन दैट आइडिया सस्टेन ऑन इट्स ओन? हाउ लॉन्ग कैन यू बूटस्ट्रैप? Most of the organization today who have grown big, right, they were bootstrapped. They did not took the investor money, they took the money from the markets, right? Can you go that IPO route even before going to the investor, right? Once you go to the IPO route, right, you will have to follow certain standards, right? Your growth will come with a certain leverage, right? Your growth will come with certain conditions which are market driven. So you'll have to analyze that, right? So funding or an investor funding should be the last choice, not the first choice. And the moment you get on a listed route, right, you will immediately start thinking about profitability, EBITDA, and all this stuff.
So then I feel that it goes more into paperwork than execution. That okay, at the end of financial year, you need to show some return to the investor. You need to generate some sort of revenue for the investor. Unless if you are bootstrapped, you focus more on how do I improve my product, how do I improve my customers' experience, how do I improve my profits.
But that will be very I would say it's a very selfish thing that you would be doing, right? When you're bootstrapped, right? The moment you sell, you list it, right? You start building toward a larger cause, right? Unless your startup, unless your idea is not aligning with a certain cause, right? See, when I say digital India, right, when the Prime Minister gives a call of digital India, right, it's, and when startups are aligning to that, right, it's for a cause, right? You are leveraging the entire community, the entire ecosystem to build India specific solutions, right? UPIs, Paytms of the world, right, etc., and building solutions in India for the world, right? So that approach has to come in, right? So and like I was like, as startup founders, think that big, right? Don't, because the moment you say bootstrap, and you will be limited to your own thinking or limited to your own reach. Don't get limited, right? Think like, okay, I am going to change things in India, right? I am going to change things in the world, and this product is going to be a game changer. That is where you'll bring that scale, efficiency, profitability, etc. into picture.